I spent so much time thinking I was choosing the wrong man. I thought maybe I was attracting the wrong people. Maybe I wasn't lucky in love. Maybe I just kept meeting emotionally unavailable people. But then one day I realized something that honestly made me uncomfortable. I wasn't choosing from the wrong people. I was choosing from the wrong version of myself. And that hit me hard because it's easier to think that everybody else is the problem. It's easier to think, why do I keep meeting these people instead of asking, who was I being when I chose them? You know what's exhausting? Looking strong on the outside while secretly needing reassurance all the time. People look at you and think, wow, she's doing so well. You are working hard. Maybe financially you are okay. Maybe you are building things. Maybe you are chasing goals. Maybe you look calm. Maybe people even tell you, you have your life together. But inside, there was this little voice, this little fear, a fear of being alone, a fear that maybe if nobody was there beside me emotionally, then I had nobody to rely on. And I never really admitted that to myself because I wanted to be the strong person. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be the person that says, I don't need anybody. But if I'm being truthful, part of me still wanted someone to choose me. Part of me still wanted someone to tell me, you are enough. And when that part of you still exists, you slowly settle. Not because you are weak, not because you are desperate, but because emotionally you are still hungry. Hi, I'm Ashley Ziu. Here we talk about becoming the strongest version of yourself emotionally, mentally, and in the way you love yourself. If that sounds like your kind of journey, subscribe and turn on notifications. And hungry people don't always choose from what's good for them. Sometimes they choose what's available. Sometimes they choose what gives temporary comfort. Sometimes they choose what gives little moments of validation. And I remember sitting in my car one day after a conversation. I just sat there in silence and I thought to myself, why am I still explaining myself? Why am I still explaining things that shouldn't require 1,000 explanations? Why am I explaining why I feel hurt? Why am I explaining my boundaries, basic respect, and why am I explaining my needs? And I remember feeling so exhausted, like deeply exhausted, not physically, but emotionally. Because when you care about somebody, you start thinking, maybe I didn't explain it properly. Maybe if I say it differently, maybe if I communicate better, maybe if I become softer, maybe if I become more understanding, maybe then they will understand me. But here's what I realized. People understand more than we think. They do. Sometimes we just don't want to accept what they are showing us because accepting it hurts. Because if we accept it, we have to accept that maybe we are investing our energy into the wrong place. And I started noticing something. Many people who are successful in life still settle emotionally. You can have money, you can be ambitious, you can be disciplined, you can have goals, you can build businesses, build careers, build yourself, and still accept less than you deserve emotionally. Being independent doesn't automatically mean you are healed. Read that again in your mind. Being independent doesn't automatically mean you are healed. Because sometimes independence becomes a shield. I don't need anybody. I can handle everything myself. I don't care. But deep down, there's still a part of you asking, am I enough? And I remember reading a book called 10x is easier than 2x. How world-class entrepreneurs achieve more by doing less by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Harden. The idea is about the opposite of doing more. 2x thinking is usually, how do I do more? How do I try harder? How do I fix this? But 10x thinking asks a different question. If I were already the version of me that is 10 times ahead, emotionally healthier, more peaceful, more secure, more confident, what would she do? And suddenly the answers became so simple. No, she wouldn't over-explain herself. No, she wouldn't ignore things she noticed at the beginning. No, she wouldn't stay where she constantly feels drained. Because love is not supposed to shrink you. Love should feel like expansion. Love should make you feel more like yourself, not less. And I realized something else. When you are choosing from an unhealed version of yourself, your emotional state isn't always strong. because the need for validation is still inside you. Even if it's hidden, even if you don't notice it, even if you tell yourself, I'm fine. I remember communicating my thoughts and boundaries to someone I was dating. I was simply expressing how I felt, and they told me, you don't love me anymore. You have changed. You don't do X, Y, and Z anymore. And of course, I felt sad because when you care about somebody, those words hurt. But there was another voice in my head, a quiet voice, and it kept saying, wake up, Ashley. They are not your people. Because the right people don't punish you for loving yourself. The right people don't make self-respect feel like betrayal. The right people don't become uncomfortable when you grow. If they love you, they will love you learning how to love yourself too. And then I realized something that changed my life. You stop chasing when you stop believing that love must be earned. Because many of us grow up believing if I give more, if I become better, if I sacrifice more, if I stay longer, then maybe I will finally receive love. But real love isn't a reward. You don't perform for it, you don't audition for it, you don't beg for it. And heartbreak is inevitable. Sometimes things are simply not meant for you, and I know people hate hearing that. Because we want smooth journeys. We want things to work. We want people to stay, but if everything was easy, how would we learn? How would we see clearly? How will we become stronger? Those heartbreaks, those disappointments, those nights when you cried, those moments when somebody walked away, they were not only breaking you, they were opening your eyes. Because now you become selective, not because you are cold, not because you hate people, not because you have given up on love, because access to you means something now. And if you're listening to this thinking, why do I keep choosing people who don't choose me? I don't want you to immediately blame yourself because for a very long time, I blamed myself too. I thought maybe I wasn't pretty enough, maybe I wasn't loving enough, maybe I wasn't understanding enough, maybe if I became more, people would stay. But I realized something. The problem was never that I had too little love to give. The problem was that I kept giving love from a place of emptiness. I kept choosing people while secretly hoping they would choose me back in a way that would finally make me feel enough. And that's a heavy thing to carry. Because no human being was meant to carry the responsibility of completing you. That is why I want you to ask yourself something. Not who they are, but who am I being when I choose them? Because maybe the version of you that chose them was tired. Maybe she was lonely. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she was still trying to prove she was worthy of staying for. And if that's true, don't hate her. Don't judge her. She was simply choosing with the awareness she had at that time. But now you know better. And the beautiful things about awareness is that once you see something clearly, you can't unsee it. So no, you are not becoming colder. You are not becoming difficult. You are not asking for too much. You are simply becoming someone who finally understands that love should feel like home, not like a place where you constantly have to earn your stay. Thank you for watching until the end. If you are still here, I want you to know that I genuinely appreciate you being here. This is only the beginning of me sharing more of my own experiences and thoughts publicly. Subscribe and let me know you are here, and I will see you in the next video.